Roll credits. The intro. It's our opening.
Damaged by you, damaged by me. I'm confused, don't wanna be confused.
Sweet.
Hey, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
How's it going today, guys? How was everyone?
We hit roll camera and Christina burped.
And I whispered it to the
Then she whispered,
microphone.
I burped.
Stay
So-
classy, San Diego.
What's our subject today, Christina?
Walter Sickert. Are we going to introduce ourselves?
Plug our shit.
I mean, we could do that.
We can shit
Yeah.
our plugs.
Yeah.
Who are you?
I'm Josh Ruff at joshruff.com and
Oh,
all
hi,
the
Josh.
things. www.joshruff.com.
And what do you
ahead,
do?
Reggie.
And what do you do?
Hi, guys. Reggie Inks. You can find me at Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Reggie Inks, as well as I now have a Patreon set up. Any art and or tattoo questions, find me, ReggieInks at gmail.com.
I'm Christina Maslar and Christina_Maslar on Instagram and Christina Maslar on Facebook and Christina Maslar at Renaissance Tattoo and at home as well.
I'm Bam Maslar. I do a bunch of stuff. You can find me on the internet. You can search my name
Internet.
on the
.com.
interwebs.
Google me, bitch.
Yeah, Google me. Just Google me.
I'm Bryce Stuff at Crucible Gallery.
Yeah, is that show still up
Yes.
and live
Yes.
there?
Yes.
Cool. All right, so what's this guy's name again?
Walter Richard Sickert.
Good old Wally.
We have no idea what
Walter.
Christina brought for us today.
Yeah.
So
It's-
I've never heard of this guy
It's
before.
gonna be a
experiencing it with
ride.
you.
I know a little bit what she was mumbling at 3 in the morning as she's writing in her notebook.
Like a crazy person.
Yeah.
Once I go through this, you'll understand why.
I'm pretty sure she had crayons out and the whole
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, judging from the images that you submitted for this one,
It's
looks a little
wild.
batshit.
Yeah.
It is.
She even wore her sweatshirt.
What's this?
Serial killer documentaries and chill.
Nice.
It'll come into play later. Anyway.
Sweet.
So tell us about Sickert.
Well, he was born on May 31st.
Oh, he was born.
1864.
Hi. First cheers of season 3.
Oh, yeah, and by the way, we're drinking the North Brewery tonight, as usual.
Who say practice safe sex.
Always.
6 feet apart.
110 Washington Ave, Endicott, New York.
If you want to pull up that picture, we can see this dude. Look at him in his top hat.
McGraw.
Fucking styling.
He was born in Munich, Germany. He's the eldest son of artist Oswald Sickert and Eleanor Louisa Henry.
Why were names as well as fashion so much cooler 100 years ago or 150 years ago?
I think it's just all of their stuff came out super rigid because it went straight from wool to you, so there wasn't like breathable fabric.
Now you got people with like names like Bam wearing Dunkaroo shirts.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's gotten a lot more colorful in the past
Yeah.
100 years.
You could look like that guy. You
If
failed.
you dressed up like that guy and walked around nowadays, you would be a fucking crazy person.
I've seen a couple of them out front of the tattoo shop. There's a guy who wears a
Oh,
top
yeah, they're
hat.
around.
Yeah.
They're definitely out there.
There's a guy who wears a top hat and plaid pants and wanders up and
Yeah,
down
like
the
a
Ave.
fishnet tank top in the November.
But during the summertime, he does break out his velvet trench coat.
I got to admit though, he is really cool because he gets the other homeless people to do things for him, and then they bring him bags of cans, and then he pays them in quarters.
So,
So
he's
he's
the
like the
rickety
ringleader.
cricket
Yeah,
of the app.
yeah. I'm like, this guy's got like a whole underground business. You could too.
I feel like my story's less interesting than that guy now.
We should
I
get him in for a
feels.
podcast.
All right,
episode.
so he was born in Germany.
Yes, in 1860. In 1868, his family moved from Germany to Britain, and his dad was a painter, and he ended up getting recommended by someone else to Ralph Nicholson Wernham, who is the keeper of National Gallery in London, which is a huge fucking deal,
Ralph.
because that's where like you'll find things like Arlefini Wedding and like all those classical things. Artemisia was supposed to have a show before COVID happened there. Like,
Yeah,
this place
even
is
she
still
got
going.
fucked by
COVID, yeah. They're like,
of
finally,
years
it's your
later.
time. No, it's not. It's never your time.
They always screw over the women in the art history.
They do. But yeah, you'll find out. Anyway, from age 10 to 11, he attended University College, and then from 1871 to 1878, he went to King's College. So even though all of his family were like painters and astronomers and shit, he was like, fuck you, Dad. I want to be an actor. Because,
The art type.
yeah, the rebellious art type. So he ended up working for 3 years for Sir Irving's company, which is an acting company. And then after that, in 1881, he started studying art and became an etching assistant to James Abbott McNeill Whistler. If you hit it,
So like 2 weeks after he wanted to become an actor, he gave up.
yeah.
Okay.
You might know Whistler from Whistler's Mother. And if you don't know him from that, if you hit it again, you'll know him from the Mr. Bean movie.
Oh, cool.
There you go. So he ended up starting
So that's one of
to-
Whistler's paintings?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Whistler painted his mom, and I think that's the most known painting. And I know it because Mr. Bean,
Of course.
because I'm educated. I went to school.
Sadly, I knew the painting, but not the reference for Mr. Bean.
Oh my God, it's great. He accidentally gets ink on the painting and then tries to get it off with paint thinner and ends up drawing an outline of his own face on there.
Doesn't he go like full? What was the first episode? What was his name? Oh man, I'm drawing a blank.
Mark Landis.
Yeah, he goes like full Mark Landis. Doesn't he like take a print out of the
Yeah,
gift
he
shop
ends
and
up-
try to like make it actually
Yep.
look like it?
Yep. He ends up like sealing it on there so his host family doesn't get in trouble because he fucked up the painting.
He like sneezes on it and wipes it with the handkerchief. Oh.
So Walter ended up working under this dude, and he started painting during this time by working a la prima and doing landscapes and nature scenes, but he fucking hated it. He hated doing nature scenes. So yeah, it's pretty boring. 1883, he went to Paris and met
Fuck nature.
he ended up meeting Edgar Degas. So if you want to, there we go. You might know him from these paintings. So this is Degas' Orchestra and Musicians. And then the next one is Dancer with Bouquet.
Which, by the way, the face of the dancer in with the bouquet totally looks like Mr. Bean.
She does.
Yeah.
This is an
Kinda
Inception
mongoloid.
type story. So when he went to meet him in France, he got really influenced by the impressionist movement, but he ended up adapting
Well, wasn't
to...
Degas like one of the first impressionists?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he ended up adapting the impressionist movement into his painting, but he used a lot more darker and somber colors. So after that, in 1885, he married a woman named Ellen Cobden. This is the only time you'll hear about her in the fucking story because none of his wives end up making it very far in these stories. He gets married a lot.
Oh.
So in 1880s,
Nice.
he took on the tradition of what all artists around this time did and just fucked about for a while. So he ended up going to France and being a art critic for papers. And then after that, he decided he was going to have a mistress and maybe an illegitimate son at the time. He also went to Venice and studied how to do not landscapes, but like exteriors of buildings and interiors of buildings.
Like paintings of, or like paint
yeah.
the outside of the
No,
building?
paintings of.
Oh.
So in 1888, he joined the New English Art Club, which is a group of artists who were influenced by French painters. And then every spring and autumn, they would have an exhibit in Piccadilly, London, which is
Piccadilly.
a real place. I didn't think I thought Piccadilly Circus was like some 1960s show about a bunch of people on acid. Apparently, it's a location.
That's
in
just where they
London.
did all the acid.
I think so, because
Is that
they
like a
named
flower, like a dilly? Like
I don't
is
know.
it like a garden area? Like, oh, you go Piccadilly.
it. But it's not
like
even
a type-
Piccadilly. It's Piccadilly Circus. That is the name of the place.
Oh.
Yeah,
Cool.
that's. But anyway,
I wish we lived in a town
Called
cool.
Piccadilly Circus.
A
Do you
cool-
really, though?
A cool name.
do you know how over it they probably fucking are? They're
You-
like, yes, that's the name of this goddamn town, and we live here.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to live in a town with a cool name.
No.
No, nobody wants to live on Fart Stained Ridge. Okay?
So we're gonna stick a pin in that little piece of information with the art exhibits.
Pin in a Piccadilly.
Pin in a Piccadilly. So in April of 1888, he displayed his first piece with the group, and it was titled Katie Lawrence at Galatte's, or Gatti's. There we go, right there. This piece was torn a new one because it was called Ugly, Vulgar, and Tawdry, because female performers at the time are viewed as akin morally to prostitutes. This is what they rioted over, these fucking prudes. She's wearing a yellow tutu. How dare he? How fucking dare he?
That's why
That's
her
how
piece was
uptight people were back
fuller.
then?
That's
They were
how
like that-
uptight they were back then.
She's wearing a dress. She must be a hooker.
So that's why they had to hide like grapes and sardines instead of a dick pic. You know what I mean? They're like,
Yeah.
oh, I will get lynched if I put a dick pic in this painting.
We'll just allude to it. She's holding a sausage. Yeah, back in medieval times, there's just trees with dicks and ladies picking dicks out of trees. They went from that to this being offensive.
Wait, so a yellow dress meant you were a hooker?
No, because he painted a performer, because that is a performer in like a dance hall.
Oh, and
but
it
I don't
wa-
think she was like
And it was a female, not a dude.
female.
Not a dude dressed as a.
correct, and I don't think she's like a ballerina.
So this is like a late 1800s strip club then.
Yeah, it's probably late 1800s strip club. So he was torn a new one
Showing
for
some
this
leg.
by these fucking prudes. So from
I see a shoulder.
From 1894 to 1904, when he went to Venice, I included an image in here. This is kind of what he switched to because people fucking ragged on him so hard about painting that lady in her fucking tutu. And while he was there, he got divorced from Ellen in 1899. It's probably because, you know, the kid and the mistress and the fact that you don't hear about her at all in the whole story.
Was Ellen the one in the dress?
No, probably not. I don't even know if he took Ellen to Paris with him or she just stayed in fucking Britain, wherever they got married. Because you really don't hear from her ever again. But after this, Walter had a fascination with like working class people, so he ended up settling a studio in Camden Town in 1905. Yeah, Camden, New Jersey. Right next to the White Castle. At this time, his work became more figurative, so he went back to lady figures. If you want to go ahead and switch.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so he started painting this because,
Awesome. Can I just say, you went, all right, you think she's a whore now. What if we take
what
off that
about
yellow
this?
dress?
So this one is just titled Figure. He did this in 1906.
Check out her 1870s bush.
So, like,
Talking about that red bush.
the
Probably what
next
they thought was heresy.
couple pictures are all from 1906. So this one is called The Figure. The next one is called The Dutch, which is in 1906.
That's creepy. I like how like the heavy impressionism on the
Yeah.
face just kind of obscures everything.
So basically, he at the time was painting from both sketches he did and memory. So I think that's why some parts are real sharp and other parts not so much. But the next one, if you go to, it's called La Hollandaise, like the sauce. 1906, and then this next one is
Painted
also
an
called
actual hollandaise sauce.
La Hollandaise.
She's
He really
saucy.
liked his Eggs Benedict, maybe, I guess. But if you hit next, this is another one. This one's different because it's a dude and a lady. So
He's just
What's the guy doing? Some like Blair Witch
Just
shit in the
watching.
corner?
just hanging out in a corner. We'll touch on that in a minute here.
just watching.
So between 1906 and 1908, he keeps touching on the subject matter of a dude just chilling around a lady. If you go into the next one, it's called, well, that's the
Well, this
sketch
is a
for
sketch
La
for it.
Hollandaise, yeah.
All right, so use like a grid system.
Yeah, to
kinda
transfer
it.
things. And then the next one is called Summer Afternoon. Another just dude and lady hanging out.
She looks like she is hanging. Like she looks tied up
Yeah.
or some shit.
And the next one is What Shall We Do for Rent? And the one after that is just the sketch for that. And another one,
What should we do for rent?
yeah, which is a really weird title and a really weird
Yeah,
subject
let's just
matter.
take a minute and look at all these.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need to like dive into this a little bit.
Yeah.
Trust me, we're
There's
going
some
to
kind
touch
of weird
back
psychological
on this.
shit going on in this guy's head that he keeps painting these same kind of scenes.
But the weirdest part is it only happens in 1906 to 1908, these scenes. We'll get to it. If you go to the next one, it's just a sketch, so you can kind of see some of the detail a little clearer from the impressionist paint strokes that he
Yeah.
uses. And then the last one we have in this group of sketches is just called Despair. And it's just a detail shot of a dude in bed with regret. So we're going to do a little sidebar here.
Sidebar.
Yeah, sidebar.
Sidebar part 1.
Sidebar part 1. So we know Walter is talented. Walter is handsome. Some might say man handsome. If you hit next, you can see a picture of him when he was younger. Right there. He knew 8 languages. Because of his time in theater, he knew people like Bram Stoker. He also knew Degas and Whistler. He hung around
So
more
he was
high
around all
society
these
people.
like big name people
Yeah.
back in that time period.
He was well spoken. He also was a philanderer.
He's a fucking serial killer, isn't he?
We don't know. He used to paint prostitutes a lot that he met through being their client. So we're going to go back
So
to
he liked-
1907. So the year before he did all of the dudes with the ladies in bed.
So he liked famous people and hookers.
Yes.
Okay.
Lots of
Sounds
hookers.
like liquor and home.
So in 1907, Emily Dimmick lived with her railway worker boyfriend named Bartram Shaw. Bertram Shaw. Old-timey names. They're hard.
Bertram Shaw.
Yeah. On September 11th, never forget, Shaw comes home from
Shout out
work
September 11th.
and the door's locked, which is weird. So he has to borrow a key from the neighbor, and he comes in, and Emily's lying in bed, naked, with a precision cut from ear to ear. So if you go to the next picture, it's a picture of Emily. Oh, no, that's a picture of
His own-
Mr. Walter. But this picture of Walter that he painted is a self-portrait, and it's called The Juvenile Lead. And the reason I included it in there is because he doesn't normally wear glasses or dress like that. So that's him in costume from his theater days, which means he used to sometimes wear costumes.
Okay.
Put a pin in that. So this is Emily. So we find out that Emily used to go by the name Phyllis. Her railway worker boyfriend didn't know this. She was a part-time sex worker and worked out of their home. So the person broke in, did that, locked the door behind them, and just fucked off. So people start...
How are you a part-time hooker and your significant other doesn't know?
He was a railway man, so he wasn't there for a long time.
Oh, okay.
And he'd come
When
home.
people
and-
whistled at her walking down the street, Mr. Railway probably just...
No, he was probably
That was
like,
that.
they're giving me a shout out because they know I work at the railway station. Boop, boop. If you hit next, there is a newspaper clipping of how they found her. See, people started
Tragedy
noticing
in Camden Town.
that looks a fuck ton like
The Illustrated Police News. Oh man, I love this.
the pictures that Walter's been painting of ladies in bed.
That looks like
Looking like they're unconscious because her throat was slit when she was sleeping, so that person hung out with her for a while.
that does look like a newspaper ad from Camden, New Jersey.
I see where you're
Yeah.
going with all this.
So, what does Walter, you think, do because of this?
His reaction.
His reaction to people being like, your paintings really look like that. He goes back and renames Summer Afternoon and What Will We Do for Rent to Camden Murders.
So he changed the titles of his paintings to
match
the
it.
headlines, more or less.
And weirdly enough, another artist got suspected of doing this and went to trial for it.
Well,
and they acquitted
solid,
him.
solid marketing scheme,
Yeah.
to try and make his old work relevant again.
But if you go back and you look
that's some
between
shit
that
we would try and
photo
do.
and the 1908 pictures,
That's some shit that we would try.
Yeah, I mean,
they
it's-
look suspiciously close. Of just a
Yeah, that one for
unconscious
sure.
lady in bed. That one
dude
for
just
sure.
staring at her.
Yeah.
Hey, what do you look like?
So if this isn't weird enough, in 1907, so the year that Emily was murdered, he painted a painting called Jack the Ripper's Bedroom. Right there. Just some dark figure, backlit.
So this
In a
is at
bedroom.
like the height of all that.
No, this is way after. This is
Okay.
way after Jack. Jack the Ripper was in 1888.
Oh, okay.
So this is 1907. So people are like, why'd you name it that? And he's like, oh, I rented a room once, and the landlady said Jack the Ripper might have stayed there. So I painted the room, and they're like, that makes sense. and then they just moved on. And just never questioned it. So after this, he just
Pesky artist, so clever.
he just moves on with his life.
Artists and their titles.
So in 1911, he gets remarried again to some other lady. I'm sure her name's not important because he's going to get remarried again.
What number is this?
This is wife number 2.
Number 2.
Her name is
He got married.
Shout out to murder and wife number 2. Some weird shit going on already.
He gets married to a lady named Christine Angus. And if you...
With a CH or with a K?
With a CH.
That's a good thing.
So if you hit the next image, it's a lady in a straw hat. And then he kind of moved into this paintings, which became more of like Victorian themes till around 1920 when Christine died. He didn't divorce this one this time. But if you go to the next one, it's just the same kind of thing. Just kind of basic paintings. This one was painted after 1920, so when his third wife, he got married third time, would take photos and he would just basically recreate them.
Was he getting divorced? Were they just mysteriously disappearing?
The 1920s one, she was married to him till she passed away. The first one, he divorced. So this is wife number 3.
Cheers to wife number 3.
Clang.
And this one is called Mrs. Earhart's Arrival. Earhart?
This one or the next one?
This one. So from 1908 to 1912, and then 1915 to 1918, he taught for Westminster School of Art. Then he started his own private school in 1910 to 1914 called Rowland's House. In 1926, he became ill and had a possible stroke. At that time, he was like, you know what? Fuck being called Walter. I'm just going to go by Richard now. You know.
He had a stroke and changed the name.
Yeah. He stroked out and was like, fuck the first name. I'm just going to go by Richard.
Was that his
By Richard, I mean Dick.
Was that his middle name?
Yes,
Oh,
Richard
okay.
was his middle name. So this is when he started painting photos, and I don't know if it's just because he couldn't paint the same way anymore because of his illness, or if he was just like, I'm a new man now because my name's Richard. He started doing more just random portraiture type artwork. So the next one, if you hit it, it's called Lady Martin. So he did a lot of stuff like this, just, real old people things. So he did an informal portrait of Winston Churchill, and Churchill fucking loved it and was like, I want to meet this guy. And then he just kind of gave Winston Churchill some painting pointers and lessons. Because that's just the charismatic kind of guy he
Winston
was.
Churchill.
Winston fucking Churchill.
Winston Churchill was a painter.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Apparently,
No, I don't know much
after
about him, actually.
meeting him, he was just like had a whole new lease on painting because he loved his painting technique so much. So in 1934 to 35, he ended up working at Royal Academy for a few months there, and then at age 81, he died in 1942.
He died.
He died.
He died.
Oh.
So that's it for Mr. Walter Sickert until 1970.
Oh.
So
Did they dig him up? Like what?
yeah, he reanimated himself.
Started painting again.
Not pretending.
So
Well, you said Bram Stoker. I mean Frankenstein, right?
Dracula.
Dracula.
Wrong one.
I know.
The dragon.
that was sarcasm.
So we're going to go back now in time. Back to Jack the Ripper. So this guy ends up writing a book named Stephen Knight. And it's called Jack the Ripper, The Final Solution, which focuses on the royal conspiracy, which is the basis for the whole From Hell movie. If anyone has seen that. I don't know if anyone here has seen it.
I've seen it.
It's Johnny Depp and the royal conspiracy.
Guess what, guys?
Oh, a movie
That
band hasn't
one-
seen. Well, that one's not really even worth watching.
It's
so
not.
much.
It's really not.
I did
but
not see it.
watch. Yeah, like fucking
It's a-
Johnny Depp's
Johnny
in it. Yeah,
Depp
he's
and
like an
Heather
inspector.
Graham.
Yeah, Heather
Yeah.
Graham.
It's an Alan Moore book, right? That's why they touch on those British conspiracy themes, like
Yeah.
V for Vendetta and whatnot.
Oh yeah,
this is
fucking
where that
what's his
conspiracy
name?
started.
Ian Holm is the Ripper in that one. Bilbo Baggins.
Yes. But if you go to the next one, we get a nice little shot of Jack the Ripper, and then the From Hell poster, just to spark memories. We'll go into a little summary here.
Yeah, this movie.
Oh, that's
So-
Johnny Depp.
Yeah. So basically, this guy got some inside source from a guy named Joseph Gorman. And Joseph Gorman says that Albert Victor, who's the prince at the time, ends up marrying a prince. He's the prince. He's royalty. Ends up marrying a working class Catholic girl and gets her pregnant. They get married in secrecy. The royal family finds out, and they're like, fuck this. We can't have this happen. Illegitimate child and shit. So they put her in a mental institution and end up killing anyone that she confided in, which happened to be just sex workers. And they used Walter Sickert to help carry through this plan because he was in such high society, but also had his studio right in the middle.
This is a conspiracy theory.
This is the conspiracy theory.
Okay.
This guy worked on his book in the 70s that finally pointed in the direction of Walter Sickert.
So
That's
they're
the
trying
only
to
time.
find out who the Ripper was because
Yeah.
they never identified him.
They never
you know?
did. But this Joseph Gorman dude says this whole thing. And the reason he says he knows is because Gorman's actual last name is Sickert, and he's his illegitimate son. What?
So he thinks his dad's the Ripper.
He thinks his dad's the
Basically.
Ripper, but also none of the timelines match up. So he's just
Well,
full
yeah.
of shit. He might also not be his son. So
So
this kind of goes nowhere other than the shitty movie, if you
Right,
guys
yeah.
have watched it. But in 2002, lady reads this book and it's just like, you know what? This guy's onto something. She is a writer.
Nailed it.
You know
And
what?
she's-
The Earth might be flat.
Yeah, basically. But she's a writer and
She went on.
she only writes fiction novels and she's like, I'm going to switch this up, write true crime. She spends millions of dollars putting together all this information to prove that Sickert actually is Jack the Ripper. And she gets some things in here that are a little suspicious. Just saying. So one of the things she finds out is that they both used the same stationery for the From Hell letters in Sickert. He had access to costumes because he did theater. As you could see in that one painting, he wore glasses sometimes, even though he didn't wear fucking glasses. They tested the envelopes, and he has the same mitochondrial blood type as like 10% of the population at the time. So he falls into the possible suspect pool of who the Ripper would have been.
based on that, just like
Yeah.
blood type kind of thing.
But her theory was, it went back to the royal conspiracy thing, and that he had some kind of birth defects that he had to have surgery for as a kid, and that fucked him up. But none of that held true. Like, he wasn't impotent or anything, which was her proof of it. But what I found out was, like, she claimed he was impotent, and that made him angry, and that's what causes a lot of serial killers to do what they do. Because it was rage killing. So the last
I mean, that's kind of
murder.
what all those paintings look like. Is
Yeah.
a dude who's having trouble, you know? And
Yeah.
Getting it up.
Yep.
Yeah,
Just like,
can't-
How
Which
are we going to
people-
pay the rent?
Yeah.
Yeah, because people
Not with my dick.
were just like, well, he didn't have kids with his wives, but friends were like, yeah, but he had illegitimate kids. So there's never a clear answer if he could have kids or not. And maybe that's what caused some of the rage, and that's what she was pointing to. But what I found more interesting was, do you remember back when I said he was part of that group? And in 1888, they had like exhibits during the spring and fall
yeah.
in Piccadilly. Piccadilly is 4 miles away from Whitechapel. That's where he had his painting that was
Whitechapel.
torn apart in April.
Mm-hmm.
The murder started in 1888 in August and went through November. And only in 1888. So it would have been the time frame during when they were there and exhibiting work.
So you think he lost his mind and started killing people?
It's possible. And she started looking at his paintings. Like, this woman went so fucking far. She bought his desk, and she also bought paintings of his, and might have destroyed one of his paintings in the process of trying to get evidence from it. But one of the things
That's
she
fucked up.
studied was, if you go to the next...
If you think that's
Picture.
fucked up, what do you think she's doing with the desk?
So that is Mary Kelly.
That's a crime scene photo.
Yep, that's a crime scene photo of Mary Kelly,
to that.
That's a dead body.
which was the Ripper's last
It's like a Mayhem album.
Yeah.
last victim, and it was like the most brutal one because the ones before that he just slit their throats in the road, which matched Emily the way that she died. But this one he actually like took time and dissected her. And if you go to the next one, it is the detail shot of the one painting that her face is all fucked up, and
Uh-huh.
it kind of looks very similar to the way that she's mutilated, and that is.
Yeah.
So they think that because in 1908 he had all those nudie things that he did. He had the issue with the prostitutes. He also was having issues with his marriage during the time in 1888 when Jack the Ripper went on his little rage spree. And then he painted that Jack the Ripper painting, and then all of these, and then Emily died, and then all of a sudden he got remarried, and none of this shit popped back up. That he is a very good suspect for being Jack the Ripper.
It makes sense. This is not like anything that you could really prove
No,
at this point,
you
though.
can't.
It's so far gone.
It's so
Yeah,
far
There's,
away.
Like, if you were to like put it in like a court, you know,
Yeah.
like there's no evidence, there's no DNA or anything anymore.
No, back then they were like, gross. Wipe this up.
Yeah.
There's blood everywhere.
Ew, who's gonna clean
Ew.
this up? New guy.
But the last picture I have here is one of the letters, and another reason she said it might be him, or at least he might have written some of the From Hell letters, is a lot of them
Dude.
had drawings in them, but they also look like that they were painted instead of using any kind of calligraphy or pen. So you could see the pencil marks underneath and then brush strokes and red ink on top.
These are Jack the Ripper letters.
These are Jack the Ripper letters.
I fucking love the artwork.
Yeah.
Yep.
How come Glenn Danzig didn't steal that skull? Dude. I want to steal that for a band logo. It's
Dude,
like
we're
it's like a Leatherface skull with a halo. That's
dude,
awesome.
we're stealing it.
And a lot of the things that From Hell is about, they try to tie it in masonry, and I think a lot of it had to do with shit like this and the other messages written on the
like
wall.
the skull and bones and the cloak
Yeah.
and dagger sort of.
So that's where a lot of
backwards.
We need to borrow that.
need to borrow it
Yeah.
because Jack the Ripper's not coming for you at this point in time.
Oh. Maybe he'll.
Maybe if we start tattooing that symbol on people, we'll I don't know, reconjure them up. Let's get a
Can ask
tattoo
him
machine
some
and a Ouija
questions.
board and see what happens.
Yo, you want to tattoo that on me?
Kinda.
Let's do it.
But basically, there was a bunch of dudes around the same time that are suspects, and they all have about the same amount of weight to them because it's just they'd find diaries buried in floors with people claiming they were Jack the Ripper, except for the fact the only reason I think this would hold any kind of water is he has the same kind of markings as the Ted Bundy type. So he was charming and charismatic, but
Man,
also
handsome.
When's his birthday?
his birthday is in May
Oh, I wonder if May what?
31st. Let me go back in my notes here.
What?
So that's
There are 4 signs.
Yeah.
There are 4 astrology signs that are consistent
have-
with serial killers. It's usually like Gemini, Virgo,
Sagittarius, a little bit of Pisces.
Pisces?
yeah, surprisingly.
Yeah.
Hey, sweet. I'm a Pisces.
So's my kid. I'm gonna look that up. You can keep going.
I'm a Gemini. I've poisoned all your beers.
I didn't drink beer.
Shit.
All right, I peed in your cup.
Please don't. That's not nice.
So
But yeah, this woman has written 2 books, and she still keeps like clinging to
Gemini
the
goes
book.
from May 21st to June 21st. What would he be?
he'd be a Gemini if it was
Yeah.
the 31st.
He's
in
Ted
the,
Bundy!
he's in the serial killer fucking bracket, dude.
Yeah,
He's got a
that's what I
serial killer
mean,
zodiac
like,
sign.
He seemed to. He at
Cheers
least,
to that.
if he wasn't murdering people,
Clang.
he
Cheers
was
to the serial killers.
cashing in on the fact that people thought he was murdering people by changing the name of
Well,
his
that's
shit.
just good marketing.
I know.
Yeah.
But it was also like it was good marketing, but he apparently was really obsessed with these murders too and just talked to anybody about it and then just fucking stopped. It just one day stopped.
I started painting portraits of old ladies.
Yeah.
What did you say to me once? That every artist needs a good like scheme or something?
A
Was it-
gimmick,
Gimmick,
for sure.
That's what it was.
Yeah, if you want to sell like millions of dollars in paintings.
We all need a gimmick. We should probably not name our paintings after serial killers, though,
No.
or dead bodies.
Be like the fucking.
Hey, I guarantee if you become a serial killer and get caught, then your paintings will go for a lot more money. Not that you'll see any benefit.
It's
from that.
true.
No, I know a
So-
guy who has a couple John Wayne Gacy's. They're really not worth that much.
I listened to a murder podcast. And apparently, John Wayne Gacy, anything that he drew, he just kind of had like an assembly line in prison, and he'd pay people in snacks. So he would just pick whoever did the best clown and write his name on it and mail it out.
That's funny.
Yeah.
You paid him in
Hey,
ho-hos and cigarettes.
Yeah, I'll give you an extra fruit cup if you draw me another clown.
Yeah.
Or I'll fucking kill you.
Give me a fruit cocktail.
I'm gonna bury you.
Well, I'm not gonna get all the vitamins.
So
I'm gonna get the
that's why
scurvy.
I wore my serial killer documentary shirt today because he, in fact, might
Well,
have been
I
a
kind of
serial
connected
killer.
those dots
Yeah.
earlier. That's interesting though that this guy may or may not have been Jack the Ripper.
Yeah, it's just
That's just something you'll never know, though.
Yeah,
Like that's a crime that'll never be solved unless we find a fucking time machine.
it's
or
true.
something.
But the only reason it holds water for me is because he has all those like markers and signs. So if he did have any kind of impotence because of his issues as a kid, and back then they didn't use any kind of fucking thing to put you to sleep while you're having surgery. So if he went through that many surgeries and was tied down with no anesthesia,
Sounds sweet.
Well, the Nick's all about that,
Yeah.
right? Like early surgery.
yeah. So basically, he was part of that.
insides.
That's a good show.
hmm
I wish that went on for longer.
I never watched season 2. I have this thing where I get too attached to shows, and
It
if they
ends
end,
pretty crazy.
We started watching season 2, and then she refuses to watch the rest of it.
I don't like to see things that I like come to an end. It's denial.
Yeah.
If I don't watch it, it means it never ended. It lasts forever.
Or it doesn't have
Well-
a bad ending.
Yeah.
The end's pretty good and slightly ambiguous, so you don't really know what
They,
happens.
yeah, they can always bring it back if they want to.
True.
Doubtful at this point, though.
On a side note, Mindhunters is not coming back. They left us at a fucking cliffhanger.
I think they did that because David Fincher is working on something else right now.
No, he came out and said, it's not
just-
profitable enough. I'm not going to do it right now.
That sucks.
Yeah. He's like,
All
maybe
about
5
that-
years from now.
That was
but
a great show.
All about the money.
Well, I mean, that's how things like that get made, though, is if they draw any
What
kind of
about
profit.
the art? What about
Well,
the art?
Well, yeah, there's something to be said for that, but like,
It's all gimmick.
a lot of people that bankroll those kind of projects only care about the financial back end of that, and that's why, like that whole HBO Max thing with like them releasing movies on their platform instead of putting them in theaters. Like, it's a lot of directors are pissed about that because then, like, they're not going to make anywhere near as much money doing that. So then that money can't be funneled into a sequel for whatever franchise they're working
Yeah,
on.
they have no clout when re-pitching the fucking franchise. Like, oh, your money only made $100 million, and we invested 2 in it.
Yeah, like every viewer, it sounds like a good deal, right? You get to see like a new big like Hollywood movie like at your house while it's in theaters. It sounds great. But like all the directors and shit are just pissed because they're like, we can't make new movies like if this tanks, like we won't get the funding.
That's a big resume builder when they have like something that fucking launches on opening weekend and makes a few $1 million and shit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
opening,
that, like,
opening
really,
weekend
like-
we made $100 million or
Yeah.
something, and then
That's a big fucking selling point for pulling whatever movie you want to out of your ass. Here's Mr. Bean 3. The Beaninator.
From Michael Bay.
opening weekend we made $2,200.
well, it's like all those Marvel movies that are in the pipeline now. They're still sitting on those because
Yeah, they haven't even launched the TV shows because they don't want to fuck with their timeline.
yeah.
Is that it?
That's it.
Wow, this crazy
Yeah.
motherfucker almost ended up being Jack the Ripper.
It
Or
could be.
might
You
have
never
been.
know.
We
Yeah.
don't know.
that was actually a quick episode.
And honestly, if he wasn't, he might have written some of those fucking letters because he was kind of an attention hoe.
Should we pull up some
It
of these
seemed like
paintings
he
again?
wanted to do things
Yeah, we can
for
look
the
at 'em.
fame.
I was gonna say like that cluster of like
By the way-
monochromatic, like they're kind of creepy. It just reminds me of fucking like I was gonna say that reminds me of like Buffalo Bill, like with all the guys just standing over the girl, like would you fuck me? I'd fuck me.
I didn't include it in here, but there's one that it's supposed to be the painting of a nude, and it's a woman like walking towards
Yeah,
him,
that
and you
one.
can see the shoulder of a man with black leather gloves holding something, but you can't see the end of it, so you don't know if it's a brush or a knife or what.
It's a
And it just
leash.
kind of looks like one of those old timey detective novels scenes,
Nah, it's
like
probably
an
a leash.
action scene.
He was in some weird leash BDSM type.
But yeah, they thought this might have been his
feel like this
Mary
painting-
Kelly.
If this painting
Yeah.
could make a sound, it would just be like a fucking synthesizer drone.
Slightly more humming, I feel like.
And if you look at his paintings, he doesn't paint any other faces like this one,
Yeah.
which is
It's-
really weird.
It's weird because this one
Well,
is
this
actually,
is just really heavy on the impressionism. You
this
know?
one is sitting up though. All the other ones they were fully laid out. This one's actually like propped up in bed.
Well, she wouldn't stop moving, so I cut her fucking face off.
Do you think he wore it?
You had one shoulder up, one shoulder up. I said it again, one shoulder up. Bitch!
Shank.
Yeah. Stab, 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 stab. Face.
Skin.
How would you rate his artwork on the impressionist scale, though? Like, you know, Degas being like the guy that he learned from.
I honestly like his
Like-
stuff better than Degas. I like his color choices better.
Yeah, it's definitely more of a like somber tone to everything for sure.
I feel like there's better balance too from cool and warm tone, where Degas stuff seems to be mostly in the warm, except for some blues here and there.
Yeah, very bright. Very. It's too happy.
Yeah. Fucking happy.
Who the fuck is that happy all the time?
Well, it's like what was the other guy that we looked at?
Well,
It reminds me of this Hyman Bloom, that one.
Yep.
yeah.
Very similar, but
He is not an impressionist. Remember,
Well, yeah.
he
but,
refused
I mean,
to be called that.
He has some impressionistic qualities to his work for sure.
But he was insulted by that term.
Of course.
See, I had one last theory. Instead of him being Jack the Ripper, him just being so obsessed with it and then just trying it once on Emily. And then having all this fucking regret about it. Painting all those
Oh
paintings.
yeah, just killing somebody.
Yeah, just killing that one person, then being like, this isn't as cool as I thought. And then just writing emo poems in the form of paintings, talking about it, and then being like, I'm not talking about it. Okay, maybe I'm talking about it a little bit. Anyway, here's a picture of a lady in a hat.
Guys, don't look at me.
I used to think
Maybe
that.
he's just like a huge fanboy.
Yeah. I think the despair one was the weirdest out of all of them. It's just a dude sitting on the bed.
I mean, they're all pretty weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another one. That one's fucking weird.
Yeah.
Mm.
I'm a good boy. I'm a good boy. I'm a good boy. Mommy says I'm
What are
a
you doing?
good
Get
boy.
up. You gotta go to work.
I feel like that, or else he's looking at her like, "What you doing?"
Just being a fucking creep.
I'm sorry I killed you.
Well, Emily was asleep when she died. So,
I'm sorry I killed you.
Was she naked?
yeah.
No, she was naked
Holly
too.
Yeah.
wants a cracker.
That's why I put the newspaper clipping in there,
I think I
because she's
should get
positioned in the
off
same
her
way.
First.
I'm sorry.
Now, how are we going to pay the
That
rent?
guy looks like he just Lenny'd her in bed on it.
Yeah, exactly.
I accidentally killed another one. Pretty Bonnie. Just held
Yeah,
still.
because she's in a very unnatural position and looks like
She
she's
is.
fucking dead and still has her hat on.
Like the wrists.
That's supposed to be her hair, because it's 1800s kind of like the poopy hair.
that looks like one of those hats from the 1800s.
Yeah,
though.
but
like
I
a-
think it's
with
just
like a
her
dead
hair
bird in
rolled
it?
Yeah.
in and she's
Just put a
facing
bird on
away.
It's got like a dead bird and like a bunch of lace. And
Another reason people point to it might be Emily is because her face looks like it's red. So they were like, maybe it's covered in blood, but I think it's just
No, it's just
red.
flesh.
Yeah.
Flesh tones.
yeah, it's like looking the other way and just shadowed.
I really like the little brush strokes in the background on this one, though.
The
Yeah.
wallpaper.
Yeah.
Some nice texture.
Yeah.
I like the fabric, the way that was done. That opaque gray seems really nice. It's just really nice, just confident strokes that define the fabric in his arm at the same time.
The sleeves, yeah.
Yeah, there's some nice stuff going in there.
Yeah, I mean, this is, as far as impressionism goes, it's pretty good, you know? Like, this just bold brush strokes that describe what's going on in the image. Like, you're not worrying too much about detail.
I'd rather hang this in my house than Whistler's mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Overall, I think he was a really good painter, but I feel like he abandoned this, and there's no real reason why. And he just kind of went the classic impressionist route.
Maybe he's burned some sage and she stopped haunting his ass.
It's true.
Or he was just like, I got to stop this or I'm going to kill somebody again.
Yeah, I gotta stop this reminiscing. Push that way down.
This is the guy sitting there in the
We're
bed.
just gonna-
But Mama says I'm a good boy. Mama said I'm a good boy.
We're just gonna push
Mama-
these feelings down.
Yeah. Just push it down.
Just squash this.
I feel like that one, it looks a little less lifeless and like she has her hand on his knee.
Well, the dude's face looks like a fucking goblin in this one.
Yeah. It doesn't really look like an old bearded farmer looking guy.
Yeah.
But then again, her face looks more mashed up in this one.
She's supposed to be facing away.
Yeah,
So
I
that's the
know.
back of her hair. But yeah, her face does look
I'm
very
looking across
flat.
the neck. Just
It looks like she's wearing a necklace, and that's another thing that lady talks about is he would paint ladies with pearl necklaces on. Ha ha ha. Pearl necklaces. But when he did, those tend to match up on the Ripper photos a little closer, and where the pearl necklaces fell would be where their neck was cut. So she's like, maybe that's just his innuendo for cutting bitches.
Well, I mean, it's clear from this artwork that this guy has some psychological
feelings.
issues that he's working through
Some
with
deep,
art, you know?
deep feelings about things.
Going through changes. Well,
Yeah.
damn.
Pretty interesting.
Yeah, that one I feel like is the most, I don't know, emotion emo boy ones,
Yeah.
and that's the
Sorry,
Jack
Mom.
the Ripper's bedroom one.
I'm sorry.
Cut my life into pieces. This is my last resort.
And he painted these like right between him starting to do like the loungy sex worker ones, and then the ones where they look like they're sleeping. So, who the fuck knows what happened to that dude? 1906 to 1908 were rough for him,
All right, well,
to say the least.
how plausible do you think this conspiracy theory is, though?
See, I think in the 1800s, a lot of people were doing murdering. So he
Yeah,
could
it
have
was a
just
lot
been
easier
like,
to get away with it back then.
he could have just titled it, been like, I'm Jack the Ripper, ha 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 ha, and people would have been like, yeah, sure you are, fucker.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
no
I-
one would have believed him.
I just find it weird that he didn't start painting it till 18 years later.
But at that time, there were probably around 12 different murders in 1888 to like 1901 in Whitechapel that could have been done by Jack the Ripper. The only reason they linked those 5 is because the letters were written.
Right. I'm saying,
So-
why did he start painting almost 18 years after the first murder or 5 years after the last murder? That's a long time to just be like, and then to decide, oh, wait,
London was
Well,
a
maybe
really
he was just
murdery
chilling out
place.
for a while, you know, seeing what the vibe was.
I mean, if you look at serial killers,
I would've
BTK,
if I start doing this now?
I would have done this on my live feed on Instagram, but you know, I'm like 200 years away from that. Being cool.
if you follow serial killers, BTK didn't kill for a long time, but he would dress in ladies' lingerie and put on a creepy ass mask and recreate photos of how he murdered people. So maybe this is just
BTK?
him. Yeah. Don't ever Google them because they're fucking terrifying photos. You know
BTK.
those Party
Find,
City
torture,
masks
kill.
that are just kind of clear
that was his name.
but look like a lady face? You know, they have like the blue eyeshadow and a clear plastic. So
If you
kinda
watch
see.
Mindhunter, they almost got into that
yeah.
guy in
Yeah.
the
They
second
just
season.
barely touch it,
This-
but
this
he
is from the
wears those
This is from the 1970s.
In-
He was caught about 15 years ago.
victims' clothing and would tie himself up and pose and take Polaroid pictures of himself because he did that to ladies beforehand, and that's how he got back into it.
Got off to it.
So this might just be this dude reminiscing about the good old days through painting.
That's fair. Makes no sense, but that's fair.
I'm not a serial killer, man. I don't know how their brains work. Not well.
Well, yeah.
There's something wrong with the chemistry. Just watch more documentaries and chill. That's what I'm trying to say.
She loves her serial killers.
Well, it's a very
too.
interesting thing, like just psychology of those people in general.
Usually it's like, and when they were 5, they hit their head, and then after that, just things go fucking wrong. Just if you're 5 and you hit your head, you're gonna kill people.
Well, he got kicked in the
Wait.
face by a horse when he was a youngin.
Wait,
and he
hold
just
on.
started killing people.
So, hit in the head at age 5 and a Pisces.
Yeah,
Shit, I'm fucked.
yeah. We got to keep our eye on you, is what we're saying.
Overly Christian upbringing. Enough to cause you to paint burning churches consistently.
Dude,
Like Ed Gein was only exposed
Wears a
to
Dunkaroo shirt on occasion.
and 100 years from now, they're gonna be like, this dude.
They're gonna find this recording and be
He
like,
might be
"This is
Jack the Ripper."
confession."
Yeah.
Wasn't Ed Gein only exposed to like the Bible, Playboy, and horror comics?
And his mother used to
Yeah,
say things
mother.
like, she's a slut because she said hello to you. I'm the only good person.
Mother.
Mother.
So
Yeah.
he grew up with that.
I'm not going to bury Mother out back. I'm going to leave her in the front. I'm going to leave her in the living room until the cops
Make
get
a
this place
fucking
in.
chair out of her.
Yeah.
That's what he did.
Yep.
That's some wild shit.
I thought she was the bedpost.
No, I think he might have grave robbed
He might have-
her.
yeah, he
or
might
he
have-
at least visited her a lot.
Okay.
Pull the old Norman Bates on her, even though the house is all Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
Leave Mother upstairs in the rocking chair.
The most fucked up thing is people thought he was simple, so he went to a bar frequently. He
nice
only
way to say
that's
that,
the only thing he
retarded.
did, and the bar maid
The old timey way of saying
went
retarded.
missing.
Frittata.
And people were like,
Fucking
damn,
TikTok.
where's Karen or whatever the fuck her name is? And he would be like, hey, she's at my house. People would be like, that's a fucking weird joke. No, he wasn't lying. She was at his house. He had
Yeah.
made her into a lamp.
Yeah, I made her into a fucking lamp.
I had her for
Lampshade.
dinner.
Basically. They're
Wow,
like,
that's hardly dark for Ed. Go ahead, get him another beer, huh?
Let's pour him another Labatt's.
You think there's anybody in that bar that looked back and that was like, that was a good joke?
Dude, Ed is killing it lately. He was so simple before, and now he's got all these really dark
all makes
jokes,
sense now.
man. It's really dark humor, but it's fucking funny, bro.
You
It's
really
fucking
nailed
funny.
that punchline.
Killing it.
Yeah, he's really killing it.
By it, I mean the whole town.
Just a bunch of ladies.
So Ed had an older brother, and his older brother was like, I'm going to get married one day. And he went and met a lady, and he went to go get married, but he went back to the farm to help with some chores. And then there was a fire, and Ed came out, and he's like, there's a fire. My brother's still in there. So they're like, oh, he died of smoke inhalation. But it's weird. He had a head wound. And he's like, he died in the fire. And they're like, you're right. He did die in the fire, Ed. He killed his brother because his brother was getting a wife and left Mama.
Well, yeah, the house caught fire, and then the axe hit him in the head that fell from the ceiling.
Mama said, Mama said, we're the she the only woman for her. She the only woman for us. That's what Mama said. My mama said. Go fucking water boy. Why do I imagine Ed Gein talking like fucking water boy?
Well, I think you're not too far off. There,
Well, my mama said.
there are audio recordings of him
See,
in like,
I wasn't.
interviews.
I couldn't
Really?
decide if I wanted
Fuck.
Water Boy or What's Eating Gilbert Grape.
Oh,
There's a
I killed you,
fucking,
Gilbert. I killed you, Gilbert.
I'm pretty
Mama,
sure there's a
wake
sample
up.
of Ed Gein talking in
No shit.
a Cannibal Corpse song.
Mama, wake up. Wake up, Mama.
Mama.
Oh,
Well, no shit.
we're bad people.
Is there any other artists that like have a sordid past like this, like a serial killer kind of thing?
Well, Caravaggio cut a bitch over some artichokes, so
Well,
I feel
yeah,
like
that-
if you let him go
I don't
long
think
enough,
it was
he
a
would
serial
have
killer though. Like,
he would have murdered more people. I think he killed one person, but I don't know. There has to be.
I mean, there are serial killers who also make art.
Well, yeah. I mean, we could do an episode on that. Just a bunch of.
Disturbing artwork. the
Even if we
artwork
just
of
look at
serial
it,
killers.
and,
I mean, we could
talk
just-
about how shitty it is.
Honestly,
There-
we could do like a whole bunch of episodes.
I feel like some
there's
of the
so many.
supernatural channels have done some of that stuff, like a top 5 most disturbing drawings, and they always ends up being like serial killer pictures and shit.
Yeah.
mean,
I remember
I could score
watching
us
this.
a couple original Gacy, maybe a couple Manson pieces.
I'm good on that. The internet exists. I can just pull up a picture. I don't have to own that shit. Pay money for it.
I got a guy.
I got a
After
guy.
knowing that Gacy didn't do his own stuff, I'm just like,
Yeah, that definitely.
Changes
Changes.
everything.
Yeah.
Fucking
the
Jeff
market.
Koons of the fucking county jail. Like, hey, I'll give you a
change-
few fruit cups to finish coloring in this
That
clown
changes
for me.
nothing for me. That actually makes me want the artwork even more.
Because then they could have actually been colored in by a fucking crackhead with pink markers.
Exactly.
I remember.
It just makes it that
there-
much
I got 25 to life for stabbing somebody over methamphetamines. Of course I'll color that picture.
Fucking Tyrone Biggums is in jail. He's like, I just wanted some crack.
Is this a 5 o'clock free crackhead boy?
Trading for some teeth.
I remember there. It wasn't a serial killer, but it was a dude that would perpetually marry old ladies and take out like huge life insurance on them.
Is this
And
what that movie
then-
Bernie's based on?
No, this is different. It's a different guy, but he would basically drain their bank account and bounce, and he'd go under different names. And they started realizing that there were these beautiful murals in his apartments, and he was the one painting them, and they were all like 1920s Art Deco themed of ladies. And that was his signature, and that's how they knew, because he changed his name when he went town to town, that fucking dude was there, because that mural would end up in the apartment. He did a
Interesting.
very catch me if you can type thing with artwork.
We had a friend one time
That's
that
cool.
Yeah.
I won't say the name, but we kept telling him like, you seem so much like Bernie, and he was like, he thought that was a compliment, and then he came over one time and watched the movie. He was like, oh, that's
Oh, you didn't mean Bernie Sanders.
that's what you meant. We're like, yeah, we can see that happening. He's like,
You ever seen that?
probably.
It's a movie with Jack Black.
A little bit, but I think I fell asleep. I remember it being on Netflix.
Yeah, it's on there.
It's good.
It's like Drowning
movie I've
Mona,
seen.
kinda.
That's a movie I've actually seen.
Check that one off your list.
1 out of like 3,000.
Yeah, Robocop up next.
Let's do it.
Find an artist that's based on RoboCop. Let's do this. Robot murder serial killer.
Ooh.
Find him.
That sounds very futuristic.
It does.
Starring Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Was
He
that a
was
wrap,
not
guys?
RoboCop,
Yeah,
dude.
let's wrap it up.
We gotta stop and say he just said RoboCop is Arnold Schwarzenegger. No one's gonna correct this.
He hasn't seen many movies. I expect it
No
at this
one-
point.
Okay.
But yeah, it was
Night.
fun. See you guys.
Robocop. Greatest movie ever.
Damaged by you, damaged by me. I'm confused, don't wanna be confused.
I understand you've never watched RoboCop, but you can't tell me you've never heard of RoboCop.
Yeah, Arnie. My boy Arnie.